Hello, my dear students, how are you? Most probably you are not fine because Corona is a big threat in the whole world. Okay, my students, we should study properly and we should properly use our time because after the Holy Ramadan and Eidul Fitr, then our exam will be held. First year final exam will be held. That's why we should properly use our time. Today I wanted to discuss about the paper 1, chapter number 6, Pteridophyta and the Bryophyta. Pteridophyta and Bryophyta. You know about the Pteridophyta. Pteridophyta, it's a non-flowering plant. What is the definition of Pteridophyta? Pteridophyta, it's the non-flowering vascular plant. This non-flowering vascular plant, this type of plant reproduce in different way. We should know at first the characteristics of the Pteridophyta. Pteridophyta grows generally moist, damp soil in this condition, and these Pteridophyta best example would say Pteris plant. The best example of the Pteridophyta, Pteris plant. This Pteris plant grows under the sunlight. That's why it is called the sun fern. That's why it is called the sun fern. My students, my mobile phone is old and I'm also shabby. That's why it is really difficult in this moment. Okay, my student, today I will discuss about the paper 1, chapter number 6. Paper 1, chapter 6. Paper 1, chapter number 6. Most probably you can't understand. Chapter number 6. Okay, paper 1, chapter number 6, Pteridophyta. What are the properties or the characteristics of the Pteridophyta plant? Number 1, they are evergreen plant. Features, at first I will tell you the features, characteristics or the characteristics of the Pteridophyta. Number 1, they are evergreen plant. Are you listening me? They are evergreen plant. This is number 1. Number 2, they are sporophytic plant. They are sporophytic plant. They are sporophytic plant. Number 3, they have vascular bundle. Number 3, they have vascular bundle. And vascular bundle consists of xylem and phloem. Vascular bundle, xylem and contains tracheids. Xylem contains tracheids. Xylem contains tracheids. Phloem contains sip tube. Phloem contains sip tube. Phloem contains sip tube. Okay, my dear students, next on, they have stomata. They have stomata in the both surface. They have stomata in the both surface. They have stomata in both surface. Okay, my students, next on, we should know the other properties. They have they have different types of characteristics. Say for example, they have clearly alternation of generation in their life cycle. They have alternation of generation, clearly alternation of generation in the life cycle. Okay, next on, they have multicellular reproductive organ. They have multicellular reproductive organ, but the reproductive cells is unicellular. They don't have flower. Next characteristics, they don't have flower. They don't have flower. They don't have seeds. They don't have flower. They don't have seeds. My student, at first I told you they are evergreen plant. They are sporophytic plant. I told you they are vascular plant. This vascular bundle consists of xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem. The xylem contains tracheids. Xylem contains tracheids. Phloem contains seed tube. Phloem contains seed tube. Okay, my dear students, you should also keep in your tissue is absent. Cambium tissue. You know the vascular bundle consists of xylem, phloem and the cambium tissue. Here cambium tissue is absent. Cambium tissue is absent. They don't have flower. They don't have flower. They don't have seeds. They don't have seeds. Reproductive organ is multicellular. Reproductive organ is multicellular. Reproductive cells are unicellular. Reproductive cells are unicellular. Okay, sorry my students. Sorry to disturb this connection. There is a mechanical problem. That's why it is already disconnected. Look at the pinna. This is pinna. This is pinna. I told you that terrace plant is the best example of pteridophyta, and this is pinna. Okay, this structure is pinna, and you know the leaves of the terrace plant is called the frond. The leaves of the terrace plant is called the frond. Only leaflet of terrace plant is called the pinna. Leaflet is called the pinna, and you know the leaves of the terrace plant is called the frond. I'm just discussing about the structure, discussing about the structure of the terrace plant. Structure of terrace plant. Number one, pinna. The leaflet of the terrace plant is called the pinna. The leaflet of the terrace plant is called the pinna. Next on, the leaves of the terrace plant is called the frond. The leaves of the terrace plant is called the frond. Next on, you know, these terrace plant, they have three parts in their body. Their body is divided into the root, stem and leaves. Root, stems and leaves. And sometimes their stem is modified, and this modified stem forms the rhizoid. This modified stem forms the rhizoid. Modified stem forms the rhizoid. Okay, my students, the hair-like structure is present in the terrace plant. This hair-like structure is called the ramenta. This hair-like structure is called the ramenta. And you should also keep in your brain that there is a curly structure. Curly structure. At the young age, there is a curly structure of the terrace plant. This curly structure of the terrace plant is called the sarsenate vernation. This sarsenate vernation and also the stem of the terrace plant is covered by a hair-like structure. This hair-like structure is called the sarsenate vernation. Is called the sarsenate vernation. Sarsenate vernation look like this structure. Sarsenate vernation look like this structure. This is sarsenate vernation. Look at the sarsenate vernation. Okay, sarsenate vernation. Obviously, diagram is here in this copy. Look at the diagram. Look at the diagram. Diagram is not clear. Sorry for my poor diagram. This is terrace plant. You know, the leaflet of this terrace plant is called the pinna. The leaflet of the terrace plant is called the pinna. Leaflet. This leaflet is called the pinna. And these leaves, I mean total leaves is together is called the frond. Total leaves together is called the frond. There is a curled structure. This curled structure is called the sarsenate vernation. Curled structure is called the sarsenate vernation. At the young stage, this plant forms the curled structure. This curled structure is called the sarsenate vernation. And you know, this sarsenate vernation is covered by a hair-like structure. This hair-like structure is called the ramenta. This hair-like structure is called the ramenta. Hair-like structure is called the ramenta. And you should know that there is a, look at that, rhizoid, and rhizoid, from the rhizoid roots are formed. This is rhizoid. This structure, level the structure is called the rhizoid, and this structure is called the roots. This is called the root. Rhizoid and roots. Okay, my dear students, look at the sarsenate vernation, ramenta, rhizoid and roots. I showed you the diagram once again. This diagram is not good diagram. Try to understand, my dear students. Please don't mind. Okay, what I told you from the first, I told you the pinna, the frond, sarsenate vernation, then ramenta, and my students, the young leaf of the terrace plant is called the crozier. Is called the crozier. I told you about the crozier. Crozier also given. Most probably there is a little bit problem. What has happened? My students, I'm really poor in this technology. Sorry for that. And this is the first time I'm taking class over the Facebook. You know, everybody knows that I didn't have any kind of Facebook, and some few days ago I opened this Facebook due to the pressure from the authority, and I'm taking class here. Okay, my students, I told you pinna, then frond, then sarsenate vernation, ramenta, and also crozier. And my student, the last thing we should know from here, sporophyll. The sorus bearing plant of the terrace plant is called the sporophyll. Sorus bearing terrace plant is called the sporophyll. Sorus bearing terrace plant is called the sporophyll. This is the structure of the terrace plant, and I showed you the diagram. My students, this terrace plant has different types of reproduction. They have sexual, asexual, and vegetative reproduction. Today we will discuss about the asexual reproduction. Okay, my dear students, asexual reproduction. What is the definition of asexual reproduction? The asexual reproduction, the process by which identical offspring is produced. Identical offspring is produced is called the asexual reproduction. Identical offspring is produced is called the asexual reproduction. In the asexual reproduction, this type of reproduction starts during the early summer. In this early summer season, the leaf has two surfaces, upper surface and the lower surface. Upper surface is called the dorsal surface. Upper surface of this leaf is called the dorsal surface, and the lower surface of this leaf is called the ventral surface. In the ventral surface, in the ventral surface of the leaf, my student, sorus is formed. At first, they form the conosorus. At first forms the conosorus, and this conosorus gradually develops and forms the sorus. And this leaf, turns into the curled structure. This curled structure, look at that, this curled structure is called the false indusium, and inside the false indusium there is a special type of cells. This special type of cells is called the placenta, and from the placenta sporangium is formed, and sporangium has two pairs. Look at the sporangium. This is sporangium, and this sporangium has two pairs. The upper round shaped structure is called the capsule, and the stalk-like structure, this structure is called the stalk. This elongated part of the sporangium is called the stalk, and this round structure is called the capsule. So sporangium has two pairs, capsule and the stalk. And capsule has a cover. The outer covering of the capsule is called the annulus. The outer covering of the capsule is called the annulus, right? And in opposite of the annulus there is a soft tissue. This soft tissue is called the stomium. This soft tissue is called the stomium. This stomium is helps to come out the spore from the sporangium. At first it contains 16 diploid spore cell inside it. 16 diploid spore cells, 16 diploid spore mother cells. These 16 diploid spore mother cells, due to the meiosis cell division, produces 16 haploid spore. These haploid spore, in the suitable environment, comes out to the environment, comes out from the sporangium to the environment through the stomium, because the stomium in that moment breaks down. Stomium is the soft tissue. This stomium breaks and comes out from the sporangium. After coming into the environment, then heart-shaped structure is formed. This heart-shaped structure structure is called the heart-shaped structure. This heart-shaped structure is called the gametophyte. This is gametophyte. This is gametophyte. In the upper gametophyte there is a notch, and this notch is called the apical notch. Okay, this is called the apical notch. It is the V-shaped structure. Is the contains the chlorophyll and autotropic structure, and this autotropic structure contains some flax-like structure. This is flax-like structure. This flax-like structure is called the archegonium. This is archegonium. This is archegonium. Archegonium. And also you should know that this almost in the lower side there is so many structure. These structures are called antheridium. This is apical notch, then archegonium, antheridium, archegonium, apical notch. And you will get some of the rhizoid. Look at that. These are the rhizoids. Okay, and sometimes you will get some roots, and here these roots, and also it contains the parenchyma cell, and this is called the gametophyte. Gametophyte. This is gametophyte. My students, look at the structure. This gametophyte formation. It is the heart-shaped green autotropic structure. Heart-shaped green autotropic structure. This autotropic structure contains antheridium and archegonium. They are autotropic because they have ability to produce the carbohydrate types of food, and by using this food they can alive, they can survive. Okay, my dear students, this structure produces archegonium and antheridium. Archegonium is considered as the female part of the gametophyte. Archegonium is considered as the female part. Archegonium, which one is archegonium? This is archegonium, and this archegonium is considered as the female part of the flower. Female part of the gametophyte or the terrace plant. And look at that, this round structure. These round structures are called the antheridium. This is archegonium, and that structure is called the antheridium. Antheridium is considered as the male part of the terrace plant. This archegonium produces female gamete, antheridium produces male gamete. Okay, my student, from the first on I told you about the terrace plant. This is paper 1, chapter number 6, Pteridophyta and the Bryophyta. My students, I told you about the terrace plant. Terrace plant, it is the best example of Pteridophyta. This terrace plant can grow under the sunlight. That is why it is called the sun fern. And I told you about the pinna, the leaflet, a single, look at that, this leaflet of the terrace plant is called the pinna. This is pinna. Leaflet of terrace plant is called the pinna. And these leaves together is called the frond. These leaves together is called the frond. Okay, frond. Okay, and look at that, there is a curled structure I showed you. There is, in the base there is a curled structure. Look at that, there is curled structure, and I drew it here. This curled structure, this young curled structure is called the sarcinate vernation, and this sarcinate vernation is covered hair-like structure. This hair-like structure is called the ramenta, and this young frond of the terrace plant is called the croissant. And I told you, sorus bearing leaf of the terrace plant is called the sporophyll. Sorus bearing leaf of the terrace plant is called the sporophyll. My students, after that I told you their reproduction process. They have different types of reproduction process, and we should know about the asexual. At first, asexual reproduction. What is the definition of asexual reproduction? Definition of asexual reproduction: the process by which similar offspring is produced, that is called the sexual. An identical offspring is produced, that is called the asexual reproduction. In the early summer, terrace plant produces conosorus in the ventral side of the leaf, and this conosorus gradually develops and forms the sorus, and in that moment leaf turns into the curled structure, and this curly structure of the leaf is called the false indusium. And inside the sorus there is a special type of cell. This cell is called the placental cell. This placental cell helps in formation of sporangium. This is sporangium. I showed you earlier. This sporangium has two parts, stalk and the capsule. I mean, the elongated part of the sporangium is called the stalk, and the circular structure is called the capsule. The outer covering of the capsule is called the annulus. In opposite of the annulus there is a soft tissue, is called the stomium. And inside the sporangium 16 spore mother cells are present. These 16 spore mother cells, they are diploid cell. Due to the meiosis, cell division produces haploid spores. These 64 haploid spores, after getting the maturity, comes out through the stomium, through the stomium. After coming into the environment, in the suitable environment, they germinate and forms the heart-shaped structure. This heart-shaped structure is called the fern prothallus, and this is called the gametophytic development, fern prothallus. And this fern prothallus is the autotrophic heart-shaped structure. This autotrophic heart-shaped structure bears two important parts. Number one, archegonium. Number two, antheridium. Archegonium, this flax-shaped structure is called the archegonium. They are considered as the female part of the terrace plant. They produce spatially the female gamete. And this round-shaped structure, I told you earlier, this round-shaped structure is called the antheridium. This antheridium produces male gametes. Okay, and I also mentioned that they are autotrophic structure because they have ability to produce carbohydrate types of food and try to survive in the natural environment. For the reproduction process of the terrace plant, water is required. Most of the pteridophyta, they are aquatic plant, but few of them are epiphytic plant. Okay, so I'm discussing about the terrace plant. Terrace plant generally grows in the damp, moist soil, but under the sunlight. Okay, that's why I mentioned earlier this is called the sun fern. Okay, my dear students, it is really very difficult to show all of these things of the terrace plant without any kind of board. Okay, due to the corona, I didn't get any chance to go to the scholars, and I didn't manage the board. That's why I tried something to draw in the copy, and hopefully in the next time I will show you so many things in the copy, because I don't have any board. Okay, my dear students, you will help me because I'm completely novice in this technology. I didn't have any Facebook, and this is the first time. I took one or two more classes for the class 10, and this is the first time here in HSC level through the through this technology. So hopefully you will cooperate me, you will help me, and next time I will try to give the proper structure, proper diagram. Okay, my student, thank you very much for joining with me. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz. Goodbye.